The alarm shrieked through the command center of the Galactic Council's monitoring station, its piercing wail cutting through the quiet hum of advanced machinery. Commander Zexhi's four eyes snapped open, her crystalline blue skin shifting from its resting purple to an alarmed crimson. "What is it, Operative Krill?" she barked, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded respect across 17 star systems. The insectoid officer's antennae twitched nervously as his clawed fingers danced across the holographic display. "Commander, we are receiving a distress signal from Sector 7 Alpha. It's from the protected zone." The blood in Zexhi's veins turned to ice. The protected zone. Earth's solar system. The one place in the galaxy where the ancient laws were absolute, unbreakable, sacred. She moved with liquid grace to the central console, her tail creating perfect balance as she leaned over the readouts. The data made no sense. Energy signatures she'd never seen before. Weapon discharges that shouldn't exist. And beneath it all, the faint but unmistakable signature of human technology. Technology that, according to every record in the galaxy, shouldn't be capable of interstellar combat. "How long ago did this start?" she demanded. 17 minutes, Commander, but that's not the worst part." Krill's compound eyes reflected the dancing lights of the display. "We've lost contact with Patrol Fleet Zerion. They were conducting routine monitoring at the edge of the system." Zexhi felt her secondary heart skip a beat. Fleet Zerion consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and over 4,000 crew members. They were among the Council's finest. "Prep my ship," she ordered, already, moving toward the exit. "Emergency authorization." "And Krill?" "Yes, Commander." "Send word to the High Council. Tell them we may have our first code black in 3,000 years." As the doors hissed shut behind her, neither officer saw the small blinking light on the secondary console, the one that indicated someone had been listening to every word they'd said. Chapter 2. The Discovery Captain. Sarah Chen hadn't slept in 36 hours, but adrenaline kept her sharp as she stared at the massive viewport of the human battleship, Defiance. Outside, the wreckage of alien vessels drifted in the cold vacuum, their exotic metals glinting under the distant light of Earth's sun. "Ma'am, we've got movement on the long-range sensors," called out Lieutenant Rodriguez from the navigation station. "Unknown vessel approaching from Vector 77 Mark IV. Sarah's jaw tightened. In the past 2 days, they'd gone from humanity's first contact with alien life to fighting for their species' survival, and winning in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "How many?" she asked. "Just one, Captain. But it's big. Really big." Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's xenobiologist and the man who'd first decoded the alien transmissions, looked up from his workstation with haunted eyes. "Captain, I've been analyzing the wreckage from our previous encounters. These aren't random raiders or pirates." "What do you mean?" Webb gestured to his holographic display, showing the sleek organic curves of the destroyed alien ships. "Look at the uniformity of design, the advanced technology, the coordinated attack patterns. These ships belong to some kind of organized military force. We're not dealing with bandits, Sarah. We're at war with an empire." The bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the ship's fusion reactors. Sarah had fought in 3 different conflicts during her 20-year military career, but nothing had prepared her for this. Humanity had barely achieved faster than light travel 6 months ago, and now they were somehow holding their own against what appeared to be a galactic superpower. "Captain," Rodriguez's voice was tight with tension. "The approaching vessel just dropped out of FTL. It's the size of a city." Through the viewport, they could see it now. A massive ship that seemed to bend light around its edges, its surface covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly. It moved with impossible grace for something so large, sliding through space like a predator stalking its prey. "Are they powering weapons?" Sarah asked. "I don't think so, ma'am. In fact, they're broadcasting on all frequencies. Standard first contact. Protocols." Sarah raised an eyebrow. After 2 days of vicious combat, someone wanted to talk. Put it through. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that defied easy description. The alien's face was a mixture of insect and crystal, with 4 multifaceted eyes that seemed to hold the weight of centuries. When it spoke, The translation software rendered its words in perfect, formal English. Human vessel. I am Commander, Sci-Fi of the Galactic Council Defense Force. I must speak with your commanding officer immediately. The matter is urgent beyond your comprehension. Sarah stepped forward, squaring her shoulders. I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth defense ship Defiance. You've got 5 minutes before I decide you're another threat to eliminate. Something that might have been surprise flickered across the alien's features. Captain Chen, you don't understand. Your species, your people shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be fighting. You shouldn't even be capable of winning. The alien's voice carried an edge of something that sounded like fear. Humans are off limits. We don't harm them. It's the most fundamental law in our civilization. Sarah felt the world tilt beneath her feet. What did you say? For 3,000 years, every species in this galaxy has known one absolute rule. Humans are protected, inviolate, sacred. Any species that harms a human faces immediate extinction. Zexhai's multiple eyes fixed on Sarah with laser intensity. So tell me, Captain, how are you here? How are you fighting? And why don't you know what you are? Chapter 3. The Truth Unveiled. The meeting took place in the Defiance's main conference room, with Captain Chen across from Commander Zexhai, and her aide, a nervous creature that looked like a cross between a mantis and a scholar. The alien commander had come aboard with only minimal escort, a show of trust that Sarah found either admirable or incredibly naive. 3,000 years ago, Zexhai began, her crystalline fingers steepled before her. The galaxy was very different. Younger species fought constantly, expanding aggressively, consuming resources without thought for the future. Then we encountered the architects. Dr. Webb leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. The architects? An ancient race, powerful beyond imagination. They claimed to be the universe's gardeners, tending to the growth of consciousness itself. Zexhai's skin shifted to a deeper blue, a sign of respect among her people. They gave us one commandment before they vanished into whatever dimension beings like that inhabit. Humans must be protected at all costs. But why? Sarah demanded. What makes humans so special? Zexhai's aide, who had introduced himself as Scholar Vextul, spoke for the first time. The architects never explained. They simply showed us visions, possible futures. In every timeline, where humans were allowed to develop naturally, the galaxy flourished. In every timeline where humans were harmed or destroyed, he shuddered, his chitinous shell clicking. Darkness, stagnation, the slow death of wonder itself. Sarah stood and began pacing, her mind racing. So you've been what? Babysitting us? Keeping us safe in our little solar system? More than that, Zexhai said quietly. We've been hiding you. Your solar system exists in a dimensional fold, slightly out of phase with normal space. To most of the galaxy, Earth appears to be nothing more than a dead rock orbiting an unremarkable star. We've maintained monitoring stations to ensure your protection, but direct contact was forbidden. Then how are we here? Dr. Webb asked. How did we develop FTL travel? How are we winning battles against obviously superior technology? Zexhai and Vextul exchanged a look that somehow conveyed volumes. That, Zexhai said slowly, is what terrifies us. According to our calculations, humanity shouldn't have achieved faster than light travel for another 200 years. Your weapons technology shouldn't be effective against our shields. Your tactical capabilities shouldn't match trained military commanders with centuries of experience. She stood, her full height impressive even by human standards. Yet here, you are, fighting with a ferocity and innovation that we've never encountered, adapting to combat situations faster than our computer models can track. It's as if... She paused, searching for words. As if what? Sarah pressed. As if you were designed for this. As if everything we've been protecting you from has been preparing you for something we don't understand. The silence that followed was broken by Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice over the intercom. Captain, we've got multiple contacts dropping out of FTL. Looks like a full battle fleet, but they're not moving into attack positions. Sarah looked at Zexhai, who had gone very still. Friends of yours? The High Council, Zexhai whispered. They're here to see for themselves what's happened to their most sacred law. Through the conference room's viewport, they could see them now. Dozens of ships of wildly different designs, representing species, from across the galaxy. All of them maintaining careful distance from the human vessel as if afraid to get too close. Captain Chen, Zexhai said urgently, what I'm about to tell you will change everything you think you know about your place in the universe. But first, I need you to understand something. Her 4 eyes fixed on Sarah with frightening intensity. Whatever the architects saw in those visions of the future, whatever role humanity is meant to play, it's beginning now. And I think we're all about to find out why the most powerful beings in the universe decided that your species was worth protecting. Chapter 4. The Awakening. The High Council's flagship was a vessel that defied conventional understanding of engineering. It seemed to be constructed from living crystal that pulsed with its own inner light, and it was large enough to house a small city. Captain Chen found herself in its central chamber, a vast space filled with beings so diverse that her mind struggled to process them all. There was Hierarch Molden, whose species appeared to be made of living metal that flowed like mercury. High Counselor Yathara resembled a tree crossed with a jellyfish, her thoughts transmitted through bioluminescent patterns that danced across her translucent bark, and at the center of it all sat Prime Administrator Kefri, an ancient being whose exact form seemed to shift whenever Sarah wasn't looking directly at him. 3,000 years, Kefri spoke, his voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere, at once. For 3,000 years we have maintained the Covenant. We have protected humanity from the galaxy's dangers, hidden your world from those who might do you harm, and carefully guided your development from the shadows. Sarah stood, straighter, every instinct telling her she was in the presence of beings whose power could snuff out Earth's sun with a thought. And now? Now everything has changed. Hierarch Molden's metallic form rippled with what might have been emotion. The dimensional barriers we established around your solar system have collapsed. Not destroyed, collapsed naturally, as if they were always meant to be temporary. High Counselor Yathara's patterns shifted to deep purples and blues. Your species has achieved technological capabilities that should have taken centuries to develop. You've begun exploring beyond your home system with an aggressive curiosity that mirrors something we've seen before. The architects, Sarah said, the pieces beginning to fit together in her mind. Prime Administrator Kefri nodded slowly. The architects were explorers, innovators, beings who pushed the boundaries of what was possible simply because those boundaries existed. They spread across the galaxy not through conquest but through an insatiable need to understand, to improve, to reach further than anyone had reached before. Dr. Webb, who had been silent throughout the exchange, suddenly straightened. That's why you were supposed to protect us. We're not just another species, we're their successors. The chamber fell silent except for the subtle harmonics of the crystal walls. Finally, Scholar Vextel spoke from his position near Commander Zexhai. The visions the architects showed us weren't just possible futures. They were inevitabilities. Humanity was always meant to become what the architects once were. The species that pushes the galaxy forward, that refuses to accept limitations, that finds solutions where others see only problems. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. And the protection period? Was meant to last until you were ready, Prime Administrator Kefri confirmed. Until you had developed the wisdom to handle the responsibility that comes with unlimited potential. But something's gone wrong, Sarah realized. We're awakening ahead of schedule. Commander Zexhai stepped forward, her skin cycling through colors that suggested deep anxiety. Captain Chen, in the past 72 hours, we've detected faster-than-light signatures from 17 different human vessels. Your species is spreading out into the galaxy at an exponential rate, and every report we receive tells the same story. Humans adapting, innovating, and succeeding in ways that should be impossible. It's not just your military capabilities, added Hierarch Molden. 3 days ago, a human mining vessel encountered a derelict ship containing technology that our best scientists couldn't understand. The human crew had it operational within 6 hours. Yesterday, High Counselor Yathara's patterns flashed with urgent oranges. A human exploration team made contact with the Velthari, a species so xenophobic they haven't spoken to outsiders in 800 years. The Velthari invited them to establish a permanent embassy. Sarah looked around the chamber, seeing something like fear in the eyes of beings who commanded the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. You're afraid of us. We're afraid for the galaxy, Prime Administrator Kefri corrected. The architect's visions showed 2 possible outcomes. In one, humanity gradually assumes the role of galactic shepherds, guiding younger species with wisdom earned through careful development. In the other, he paused, his shifting form stabilizing for a moment into something almost recognizably human. In the other, humanity awakens too quickly, without the tempering influence of time and experience. They become not shepherds but conquerors, not teachers but tyrants. The weight of his words settled over the chamber like a shroud. Sarah felt the burden of her entire species' future pressing down on her shoulders. So what happens now? She asked quietly. Commander Zexai moved to stand beside her, an unexpected gesture of solidarity. Now, Captain Chen, we find out which vision comes true. Because ready or not, humanity's time of protection is over. The galaxy is about to meet its new architects. Through the crystal walls of the chamber, Sarah could see Earth in the distance, a small blue marble that had somehow become the most important world in the galaxy. Around it, human ships were already beginning to spread out toward the stars, carrying with them the hopes and fears of countless civilizations. The age of humanity had begun. Epilogue: The Choice. 6 months later, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of New Horizons, humanity's first diplomatic vessel designed specifically for interspecies contact. Around her, the galaxy hummed with activity, as human explorers, scientists, and diplomats established relations with species that had watched over them for millennia. The results had been mixed. Some encounters had gone beautifully. Dr. Webb now led a joint research initiative with the Velthari, unlocking secrets of biology that promised to revolutionize medicine across dozens of worlds. Human agricultural techniques had solved food shortages on 3 different planets. Human artistic expression had inspired cultural renaissance movements among species that had forgotten how to dream. But there had been darker moments too. A human military expedition had nearly sparked a war with the Corvan Empire by refusing to accept territorial boundaries that had stood for centuries. Human mining operations had disrupted delicate ecosystems, leading to protests from environmental protection leagues. Some human colonies had begun imposing their cultural values on local populations, echoing the worst fears of the High Council. The reports are troubling, Commander Zexai said, joining Sarah at the viewport. The two had become unlikely friends during the transition period, with Zexai serving as humanity's primary liaison to the Galactic Council. Some of them are, Sarah agreed. But not all. We're learning, Zexai. Maybe not as fast as you'd like, but we're learning. The question isn't whether you're learning, Zexai replied softly. The question is whether you're learning fast enough. Sarah turned to face her alien friend. Meaning? There are factions within the Council who believe the architects made a mistake. They think humanity should be contained. Before you spread too far, change too much. The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. You're talking about genocide. I'm talking about fear, Zexai corrected. Fear of change, fear of losing control, fear that humanity will outgrow the need for the systems that have kept the galaxy stable for 3,000 years. Sarah looked back out at the stars where human ships continued their relentless expansion into the unknown. And what do you think? Zexai was quiet for a long moment, her skin cycling through thoughtful blues and greens. I think the architects knew exactly what they were doing. I think they understood that growth requires risk, that innovation requires the possibility of failure, and that the greatest discoveries come from those willing to venture into the unknown. She placed a crystalline hand on Sarah's shoulder, a gesture of trust that would have been unthinkable 6 months earlier. I think humanity is exactly what the galaxy needs, even if it's not what the galaxy wants. The question is whether we're wise enough to let you become what you're meant to be. As if summoned by their conversation, Dr. Webb's voice came over the ship's intercom. Captain Chen, you need to see this. We've just received a transmission from the Deep Space Monitoring Array. Sarah and Zexai made their way to the communications center, where Webb was staring at his displays with an expression of wonder and terror. What is it, Marcus? It's from beyond the galactic rim, he said slowly. The transmission is using architect technology we've never seen before, but which our computers somehow recognize. He looked up at them with wide eyes. Someone's been watching our expansion into the galaxy, and now they want to make contact. Sarah felt the familiar thrill of discovery, the same feeling that had driven her species to reach for the stars in the first place. Whatever came next, whether humanity would prove worthy of the architect's faith or justify the council's fears, it would be decided not by committees or councils, but by individual choices made by individual humans in the vast darkness between the stars. Open a channel, she ordered. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, and for the first time in 3,000 years, no one knew what would happen next. That, Sarah realized, was exactly how it should be. The age of protection was over. The age of possibility had begun. And somewhere in the depths of space, ancient beings who had once shepherded the galaxy themselves watched humanity take its first steps toward a destiny that would reshape the universe itself. The greatest adventure in galactic history was just beginning.